to prove him, for he himself knew what he would do. Philip answered him, 200 pennyworth of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may take a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, saith unto him, There is a lad here which hath 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes. But what are they among so many? And Yahushua said, Make the men sit down. Now there was much grass in the place, so the men sat down, in number about 5,000.
So, 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes. How many senses do you have?
How many what?
Senses do you have?
6.
You have 6
7.
senses?
5.
5 senses.
5
I
senses.
mean, I got 6 senses.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Dead.
And then how many eyes do you have? 2?
How many eyes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I got
Okay.
2 eyes.
Keep going.
Where did I stop at? 11?
10. No.
No, you're on
11.
All right. And Yahushua took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed to the disciples, and the disciples to them that were set down, and likewise of the fishes as much as they would. When they were filled, he said unto his disciples, Gather up the fragments that remain, that nothing be lost.
So, another word for fragment is what? Remnant.
Oh, yeah?
Another word for fragment is remnant.
The remainder of what was left over. Okay.
Right. So, I was reading this, and I'm just reading it, and I'm just seeing more stuff, and I'm just like, oh man, this is. We'll get to a deeper understanding here in a little bit. Keep going.
All right. 13.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore they gathered them together and filled 12 baskets with the fragments of the 5 barley loaves, which remained over and above unto them that had eaten.
So I got a question. How many hours in a day? Well, how many hours on the clock? How many numbers on the clock?
12.
How many disciples were there?
12.
12 represents order. It represents order. Keep going.
Then those men, right, I'm on 14?
Yes.
Okay. Then those men, when they had seen the miracle that that Yahushua did, said, This is of a truth that prophet that should come into the world. When Yahushua therefore perceived that they would come and take him by force to make him a king, he departed again into a mountain himself alone. And when even was now come, his disciples went down unto the sea, and entered into a ship, and went over the sea toward Capernaum. And it was now dark, and Yahushua was not come to them. And the sea arose by reason of a great wind that blew. So when they had rowed about 25 or 30 furlongs, they see Yahushua walking on the sea and drawing nigh unto the ship, and they were afraid.
Like, what would you be thinking? Like, man, am I tripping? You saw him walk, like, wait. Y'all know we just rode about a mile down here, right?
What was in that bread?
Okay.
But he said unto them, It is I, be not afraid.
Okay, Jessica, can you read that?
Then they willingly received him into the ship, and immediately the ship was at the land whither they went.
So they had faith once he spoke to them, right? He said, "It is I, be not afraid." Oh yeah, because like they thought they was undone. Like, this is it, man. The master ain't here either. And I know his enemy's coming to destroy us, and he ain't even here to protect us. But no, it was good on that one. Keep going.
The day following, when the people which stood on the other side of the sea saw that there was none other boat there, save that one whereunto his disciples were entered, and then and that Yahusha went not with his disciples into the boat, but that his disciples were gone away alone. Howbeit, there came other boats from Tiberias nigh unto the place where they did eat bread after the Most High had given thanks. When the people therefore saw that Yahusha was not there, neither his disciples, they also took shipping and came to Capernaum, seeking for Yahusha. And when they had found him on the other side of the sea, they said unto him, Rabbi, when camest thou hither? Yahusha answered them and said, Verily, verily, I say unto you, ye seek me, not because ye saw the miracles, but because ye eat of the loaves and were filled. Labor not for the meat which perisheth, but for the meat which endureth unto everlasting life, which the Son of Man shall give unto you. For him hath the Most High and the Father sealed.
So wait, so how can you labor not for meat that dies, because all the meat here dies? If you don't labor for your food, how are you going to survive?
You're not.
So is he telling them to die?
No.
What's he saying?
To labor for his food.
Hmm?
To work.
No, he said labor not for
Oh.
the meat which perishes. So not for meat that dies. Every meat that we have on earth here dies. So he told them don't work for those things.
Oh. I'm lost. What theme I just read?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wait.
The meat of the fruit, the meat of the nuts, that meat, right?
What does that mean? Which endureth everlasting life, which the Son of Man shall give.
Okay, we'll remember verse 27. We'll come back.
Yeah,
we'll come back to
27. I gotta
27.
read that slow. 27. Okay, 28. Then said they unto him, What shall we do that we might work the works of the Most High?
This is what we're focusing on and what
Okay.
we're building on now. This next verse, go ahead.
Okay. Yahusha answered and said unto them, This is the work of Elohim, that ye believe on him who he hath sent.
So, Amunah, faith is the work. Because you can do all the things, keeping the law, statutes, and commands, but if you don't have faith, it is impossible to please the Most High. It's impossible. You can't do it without faith. We gotta keep work, because it's a muscle. We gotta keep working on it, stretching it out, you know, putting it through exercises.
Yeah. Tense up.
Yeah, it will, because then you don't. Exactly. Because your faith could be in your doubts, and then that's what keeps growing and getting stronger and stronger to have dominion over you when it was never supposed to have dominion over us. Okay, keep going.
They said therefore unto him, What sign shewest thou then, that we may see and believe thee? What dost thou work? Our fathers did eat manna in the desert, as it is written, He gave them bread from heaven to eat. Then Yahusha said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, Moses gave you not that bread from heaven, but my Father giveth you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of Elohim is he which cometh down from heaven, and giveth life unto the world. Then said they...
So, real quick, but through Moses, they actually did get bread or manna from heaven. So what is he saying? Because they actually did. The Most High, he gave them manna, angels' food from heaven. They literally ate it. Now, the Master Yahushua is saying that they didn't have that, right? What did he say?
The true bread. Our Father giveth you the
Moses
true bread.
gave you not that bread from heaven.
That it came from the Most High, right?
Keep going.
Am I on 34?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Then said they unto him, The Most High evermore give us this bread. And Yahusha said unto them, I am the bread of life. He that cometh to me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst.
So does that mean that just because you believe and you come to Yahushua that you will never be hungry or thirsty again?
That's the question again.
So does that mean that whoever believes in Yahushua will never hunger or thirst again?
No, not just because you believe.
You have to come to him. That's what it says.
Okay, but so you come to him, does that mean that you will never hunger or never thirst again?
Not if you don't have faith.
Right. If you don't believe it's going to happen.
Okay, even if you have faith in Yahushua or not, every day you get hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Every day you get thirsty.
Mm-hmm.
So what is he saying? Keep reading. Keep going.
I gotta think. I'm gonna write that down too. But I said unto you that ye also have seen me and believe not. All that the Father giveth me shall come to me, and him that cometh to me I will in no wise cast out. For I came down from heaven, not to do my own will, but the will of him that sent me. And this is that the Father's will which hath sent me, that of all which he had given me I should lose nothing, but should raise it up again at the last day.
Okay, so read the next verse.
And this is the will of him that sent me, that every one which seeth the Son and believeth on him may have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last day.
So, to put it like quickly, he wasn't saying that you were never literally going to hunger or thirst again. But we have the words of truth. That's supposed to be our bread or our meat. So when we're coming to him, seeking him, through that, spiritually speaking, you're not going to hunger or thirst, because all you got to do is ask and you shall receive. So he wasn't talking about a physical hunger. He's not talking about physical meat. Now, you read verse 39.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the Father's will which hath sent me, that all of which he hath given me I should lose nothing, but shall raise it up again at the last day. And this is the will of him that sent me, that everyone which seeth the Son of Man and believeth on him may have everlasting life. I will raise him up the last day. But he said before that he came he came down not to do his own will, but his Father's will, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've been reading about these 5 loaves and 2 fishes. Okay. What verse was that?
27.
Was it 27?
Yeah, you said that. Go back to?
Okay, yeah. Remember 27. We're going to go further back. Hold on. And roll 20 furlongs. Nope, we want to go further than that. Receive, come. So, somebody read verse 39 and 40 again.
Wait a minute. You went backwards with me. And this is the Father's will which hath sent me, that of all which he hath given me I should lose nothing, but should raise it up again at the last day.
Okay, so I'm going to read verse 11 and 12. And Yahushua took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed to the disciples, and the disciples to them that were set down. So there's an order from Yahushua, from the Father to Yahushua to the disciples, right? That's the order. That's 12. To them that were set down, and likewise of the fishes, as much as they would. When they were filled, he said unto his disciples, gather up the fragments. Fragments is also means remnants that remain, that nothing be lost. Do y'all see it? Because he came to do his Father's will. He's not going to lose anything that's his. You see what I'm saying, or no?
Mm-mm.
Okay. He said, gather up the fragments that remain, that nothing be lost, in verse 12. So even though he performed these miracles, like what I'm saying is the Most High is so precise in all and everything that even them feeding 5,000 men, save women and children, there was still so much left, right? But he made sure nothing gets lost. Nothing that is the Master's or Yahushua's will ever be lost in it. Because those that hunger and thirst after righteousness, not after literal food and meat, because that can become a lustful thing,
right.
A gluttony thing.
Gluttony.
So this whole thing it's like a type of what he ends up saying later on. He's letting you know that he can't lose anything that the Most High gave him if you're his, right? But you have to, what do you say? But the work of or the will of the Father is to what? Believe on his Son, have faith, have amunah, and through that we know we can do all things. The problem is we're stuck on good ship Jesus. We're stuck on it. I'm going to just wait on the Lord. That's what they say. I'm going to wait on the Lord. wait on, because that name is really Zeus. If we want to really be technical, that's what it really was. It was Zeus. They want us to just wait and wait and wait and let our oppressors rule over us. Let them force us to take stuff that we ain't got no business taking. And got us believing that all we got to do is go to church on Sunday and everything will be all right. We got to get off the good ship and do our part. Because faith without works is dead. Like the time for us to just waiting on the Lord. I'm not saying don't wait on Him, because He's going to give you the instruction. He's going to give you the wisdom for the things that you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
But at the same token, you got to get off the good ship and walk to Him so you can walk with Him.
So he's saying 11 is
Right.
basically what he's talking about in 39.
Yeah.
It's an example of what he's saying in 39, because he said, and this is the Father's will which hath sent me, that all of which he had given me I should lose nothing.
Wow.
Because remember, it was only...
raise it up again at the last day.
Right. So
they
go
took
ahead.
the remnants, which was the last of the bread and the fish, and
Right.
they still had plenty full of it. Because
Right. They had way more. They fed over. They fed over 5,000 people.
Yeah.
I see.
You see what I'm saying? Like, so I was reading, I was like, oh, I didn't see that before. I wasn't paying attention. So that's one thing. So that's 40. And raise them up at the last. And this is the will of Him that sent me, that everyone which seeth the Son and believeth hath amunah on Him may have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last. The Yahudim then murmured at him, because he said, I am the bread which came down from the Shamayim. That's what I was asking, was that literal bread, or what is he talking about? Then he says, and they said, is not this Yahusha, the son of Yosef, whose father and mother we know? How is it then that he saith, I came down from the Shamayim? Yeah, we know, we've known you since you was a youngin', a little shorty. Like, what you talking about?
Your mama and your dad.
Facts. Yahusha therefore answered and said unto them, murmur or gnash your teeth not among yourselves. No man can come to me except the Father which hath sent me. Draw him, and I will raise him up at the last day. Still talking about the same thing. It is written in the prophets, and they shall be all taught of Elohim in that day and in that time. Every man, therefore, that hath heard and hath learned of the Father cometh unto me. So those that are seeking for righteousness cometh to him. Not that any man have seen the Father, save he which is of Elohim. He have seen the Father. Now, that doesn't mean that only, I used to think that only Yahushua, he's the only one that's seen the Father, this and that. Well, Moses saw his back. I mean, what did Enoch have to do to be able to go to heaven? He must have seen, because you can't see the Father and live. You got to be translated. You got to reach that next destination to do greater things. Not that any man have seen the Father, save he which is of Elohim, he hath seen the Father. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth or hath amunah on me hath everlasting life. I am that bread of life. Your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness and are dead. This is the bread which cometh down from the Shamayim, that a man may eat thereof and not die.
Wow.
Because there's a spiritual death too. And that's what he's talking about. Everything he's talking about is spiritual. I am the living bread which came down from the Shamayim. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. And the bread that I will give is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world. So wait, so we got to eat flesh?
No.
He just said eat flesh. What's he saying?
Oh.
Of course, because he's talking spiritual. He's not talking about his literal here, be a cannibal, be a vampire. He's not saying that. The Yahudim therefore strove among themselves, saying, how can this man give us his flesh to eat? Because they were carnal.
Right. They didn't think like that.
Exactly. Then Yahusha said unto them, verily, verily, I say unto you, except you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in you. So what does that remind you of, June? That sounds like what kind of talk?
Covenant.
That's covenant talk. Because that's not even flesh that he's talking about. He's trying to get them to come back into the bond of the renewed covenant. That's what he's talking about.
Wow.
Because he knew that he was going to be the what? Propitiation of our sins. He's going to be the redemption of all the 12 houses of Israel, and then all those that would cleave to the covenant. Life in you. Whoso eateth my flesh and drinketh my blood hath eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. He's still talking about at the last, because he doesn't lose anybody that's truly for him. But let's see if all of those that followed him were truly for him. For my flesh is meat indeed, and my blood is drink indeed. He that eateth my flesh and drinketh my blood dwelleth in me, and I in him. So again, he's not talking carnally, because his bread is actually his instructions, his teachings. He gave us the complete understandings of what the Father wanted us to do, how to operate, how to love our neighbor as ourselves, how to worship the Most High the right way. As the living Father hath sent me, and I live by the Father, so he that eateth me, even he shall live by me. Because we're the body of, quote unquote, Christ, right? Or Hamashiach, right? This is that bread which came down from Shamayim. Not as your fathers did eat manna and are dead. He that, eateth of this bread shall live forever.
Wow.
Because then that can give you continual lines forever, generation to generation. Even though we know once we pass on, we go to something else. And we know we're trying to be in Abraham's bosom or resting peacefully.
Right.
Or sleeping with our fathers or our mothers. But another part of eternal life is having children and grandchildren that can dwell in the land safely. Our people always, the African thought, they were always thinking about dwelling in our own land safely from generation to generation. And we were promised that land forever, from generation to generation. These things said he in the synagogue as he taught in Capernaum. Many therefore of his disciples, when they heard this, said, this is an hard saying. Who can hear it? So his disciples now, he's got at least 70 at this point in time. When Yahushua knew in himself that his disciples murmured at it, he said unto them, does this offend you? You mad, bro? you mad? What and if you shall see the Son of Man ascend up where he was before? It is the Ruach, or the Spirit, that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit or spiritual. The Torah is spiritual. And they are life. But there are some of you that believe not, have no amunah. For Yahushua knew from the beginning who they were that believed not and who should betray him. And he said, therefore said I unto you, that no man can come unto me except it were given unto him of my Father. From that time, many of his disciples went back and walked no more with him. So how? You just see this man walk on water, feed all these people. He's got one tough saying to where you really have to sit and think, why not just ask him to understand if you still don't get it? But they didn't have enough faith in him. They didn't have no amunah in the Savior. They didn't.
They probably thought he was a devil at that point.
Yes,
you want us to do what? Him to eat your flesh and drink your blood? So nah, bro, I'm good.
Pieces off of you, we gotta drink the blood too.
Like, man, I don't know about eating you, but what would I season you with? You know, like the type of stuff our people really be thinking, like, oh no, he tripping. I think he's smoking the peace pipe.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But had they listened, he said this is of spirit. Right. So that right there changes everything. I mean, even my perspective of the blood, and I'm like, what?
Because
wow.
Because the flesh isn't his literal flesh. If anything, it would more likely be bread.
Right.
Or some other type of meat, because he was the living sacrifice. But the blood's not necessarily blood either, because normally those things are done. What do they do in communion nowadays? They a lot of them put grape juice, but most of the time it's wine. It's the blood of grapes anyway. So that's covenant talk, right? Mm-hmm. It's not a literal thing, and people take everything literal. Like, no, that's why I had to show y'all. Look, the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes. This whole thing. Like, even though all this stuff happened, this is still a part of what he's trying to show you. He can't lose anything that's his. He can't. He can't. And he's going to take care of everyone that's his. Because they had 12 baskets full. Crazy thing enough, there's 12 tribes. There was 12 apostles. One was a devil. They replaced that 12 apostles. The apostles are supposed to all rule and judge all of the 12 tribes. And then through the 12 tribes, they're going to judge the world. So again, it's order. So like when you see 12 in certain numbers, you got to start like referencing something with this. Like, you know, we know the seventh day is what? It's rest. Like, man, I'm going to chill. You know, the sixth day, that's the day man was created. It's also the day that's with the mark of the beast. I just want y'all to see certain things.
Because man is the mark of man, I'm telling you.
Well, it's the type of man
right.
That's the mark of the beast on this one. It's a specific beast nation that's the mark. That's causing everyone to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Daniel's really good about that. Daniel's really good. Daniel and Revelations.
I'll read this and mark it down.
From that time, 66, from that time, many of his disciples went back and walked no more with him. Then said Yahushua unto the 12, will you also go away? Then Simon called Peter, the one up on the rock that the church is supposed to be built on, from so he's the little rock, right? And then the Most High is the big rock. We know that, right? Simon Peter answered him, Master, to whom shall we go? Thou hast the words of eternal life. Like, where are we going to go? We can't live without you. Look, you got any more of that flesh?
That's fine.
And we believe, have amunah, and are sure that thou art the Hamashiach, the son of the living Elohim. Yahushua answered them, have not I chosen 12, and one of you is a devil?
Wow. He
spake of Yehuda Iscariot, the son of Shimeon, for he it was should betray him, being one of the 12.
Jesus.
Right, but he said, you know, he can't lose none of them that were his, but he chose one that was a devil, because he was never his. He was a murderer from the beginning.
Wow.
Is what it says. So now we're going to go to Matthew 14.
Let
me use the bathroom real quick. We got to get off the good shit. We got to get off it.
Matthew. What did you say it was?
14.
I think we're going to start at verse 12.
Wow. Oh, there was Matthew. 14 and 12. Yep. Okay. What kind of juice is that?
Some of the best juice in the world.
All right.
This one is
So we're not?
pineapple, orange, and ginger.
Pineapple and orange.
And the other one was kale, kiwi, apple, and lemon.
Okay, so we're going to Matthew 14. We're going to read we're going to start at verse 12. And we're going to read actually to the end. But I just want y'all to see this is the time we got to be walking in faith and emunah. We got to get off that good ship, because how are we going to walk with him if we're stuck on a ship?
Right.
And he's trying to lead us to a place.
You can't walk on the one.
Because we saw what happened to the disciples. They were in the ship, getting tossed to and fro, whatever, and then they saw him, and then they were, happy, like, oh, yeah, come in here, yeah. We know you got the tree of life. No, you are the tree of life. You're good. But, June, whenever you get it, go ahead.
And his disciples came and took up the body and buried it, and went and told Yahushua. When Yahushua heard of it, he departed thence by ship into a desert place apart. And when the people had heard thereof, they followed him on foot out of the cities. And Yahushua went forth and saw a great multitude, and was moved with compassion toward them, and he healed their sick. And when it was evening, his disciples came to him, saying...
So, was it actually Yahushua that healed them, or was it their faith that made them whole, though?
The faith that made them whole.
If you ain't got no faith, you can't please the Most High. He ain't gonna do nothing that's not pleasing him. He's not. Okay, keep going.
And when it was evening, his disciples came to him, saying, "This is a desert place, and the time is now past. Send the multitude away, that they may go into the villages and buy themselves victuals." But Yahushua said unto them, "They need not depart. Give ye them to eat." And they say unto him, "We have here but 5 loaves and 2 fishes."
Don't sound like a lot of faith right there, right? There we go again, 5 and 2.
He said, "Bring them hither to me." And he commanded the multitude to sit down on the grass, and took the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and brake, and gave the loaves to his disciples, and the disciples to the multitude. And they did all eat, and were filled. And they took up of the fragments that remained 12 baskets full.
There's 12 tribes of Israel. Like, you gotta remember that. Like, all this stuff is spiritual also. But keep going.
And they that had eaten were about 5,000 men, beside women and children. And straightway Yahushua constrained his disciples to get into a ship, and to go before him unto the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into a mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone.
So when he went to mountain to pray, he had to use his what?
Okay.
Use his back. It's a weapon. It's protection. It's power. It's life.
But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the fourth watch of the night, Yahushua went unto them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, "It is a spirit." And they cried out for fear.
Yeah, I mean, that would be kind of scary. I mean, I know we just got done talking about that, but I don't know what I'd do.
But straightway Yahushua spoke unto them, saying, "Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid."
So he told them to have faith, right? He said, "Be not afraid, have faith, believe on me." Keep going.
And Peter answered him and said, "Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water."
So Peter, he got a little faith, ain't he?
Just
He's
a
like,
little.